Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Digital Assets Daily. Today we have about 12 articles to discuss, and let's dive right in. Cryptocurrencies are clearly shaking the system, IMF's Lagarde says. Key points are the International Monetary Fund Managing Director Christine Lagarde said Wednesday that disruptors are having a clear impact on the banking sector. Distributed ledger technologies like cryptocurrencies and digital assets are shaking the system, she said, and Lagarde warned that innovation in the banking sector needs to be accompanied by regulation to maintain stability and trust in the system. Moving on to the next article, IMF's Lagarde says central banks could issue digital money. International Monetary Fund head Christine Lagarde said central banks around the world should consider issuing digital currency. Speaking in Singapore, Ms. Lagarde said this could make digital currency transactions safer. Non-cash payments have increased over the years, raising challenges for governments and central banks. All of that being in mind, I will get to a point as we go through these articles and finish at the end. Excuse me. On the next issue, knowing how the IMF is preparing and ready for the digital assets and digital currencies to begin moving to making things more efficient, more safe, and have more transparency and accountability. New story coming out now says it's the 11th hour. It's now or never for late cycle banks. They've pushed off to the last moment. So McKinsey's 2019 Global Banking Annual Review reveals that struggling banks have one last chance to reinvent or restructure their business model, or risk ceding market dominance to fintech companies and big tech giants, while financial institutions that are scraping the barrel with low yield, low customer confidence, low growth, and low revenue may be doomed. The future is not so bright for top banks either. The report also shows that 40% of financial services industry leaders may drop to the bottom in the next cycle if bold moves are not taken to transform banking strategies. After analyzing over 1,000 banks, McKinsey explores how banks around the world can be placed into four categories: market leaders, resilience, followers, and the challenged. And all of these financial players should make significant changes in order to prepare for the future or face perishing. Now, as we go through more articles, the importance is the regulation. This article discussing Bitcoin's price is affected by U.S. regulation and lack of crypto legal clarity. In the UK, we're seeing that they're taking steps towards legal clarity for cryptos. Does not see utility token as a security. Then we have CoinList General Counsel joins chorus of blockchain crypto voices looking for regulatory clarity. Again and again and again, everyone is looking for clarity so that they can move forward with this. A good example is the FinCEN. FinCEN finds Ripple Labs Inc. in first civil enforcement action against a virtual currency exchanger, immediately released May 5th, 2015. And the story with that is the Great Ripple Debate FinCEN ruling labels XRP a currency, not a security. The U.S. SEC has decided Bitcoin and Ethereum will not be regulated as securities, but the debate continues to rage over Ripple, the third largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization. Some argue U.S. FinCEN has already set a precedent for Ripple's definition, which will mean the SEC must eventually follow suit. June has seen the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, make clear that Bitcoin, BTC, and Ethereum, ETH, are not securities and will not be regulated as such. Ripple's XRP classification, however, is still up for debate. Or is it? Some believe a ruling by the U.S. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, in 2015 sets a definition for the native coin of the Ripple network, XRP, within the U.S. federal government that cannot be superseded by the SEC as Twitter user Richard Holland at Code Tsunami notes. Jason Fox tweeted, definition of a security. Sorry, XRP haters, but XRP is none of these. The definition of a security under the Section 2A1 of the Securities Act. The term security is defined as any note, stock, security stock, treasury stock, security future, security-based swap, bond, debenture, evidence of indebtedness, certificate of interest or participation in any profit-sharing agreement, collateral trust certificate, pre-organization certificate or subscription, transferable share, investment contract, voting trust certificate, certificate of deposit for a security, fractional undivided interest in oil, gas, or other mineral rights, any put, call, straddle, option, or privilege on any security, certificate of deposit or group or interest of securities, including any interest therein or based on the value thereof, or any put therein, or any put, call, straddle, option, or privilege entered into on a national securities exchange relating to foreign currency, or in general, any interest or instrument commonly known as a security, or any certificate of interest or participation in, temporary or interim certificate for, receipt for, guarantee of, or warrant of, right to subscribe to or purchase any of the foregoing. FinCEN already signed an agreement with Ripple Inc. allowing them to continue their XRP sales. If XRP is an unlicensed security, then FinCEN now has to explain why they signed an agreement allowing the sale of said unlicensed securities. Never going to happen. XRP isn't a security. In a 2015 civil enforcement by FinCEN, Ripple Labs was accused of violating the Bank Secrecy Act, BSA, by acting as a money services business, MSB, and selling XRP without registering with FinCEN. It also failed to implement and maintain an adequate anti-money laundering AML program. A settlement agreement ensued, criminal charges were resolved, and Ripple's fined $450,000 USD. Critically to the debate, the trading of XRP was permitted. Through a registered MSB to implement and maintain an effective AML program to comply with the funds transfer and funds travel rules, to conduct a 3-year look-back, to require suspicious activity reporting for prior suspicious transactions, and a requirement for the companies to retain external independent auditors to review their compliance with the BSA every 2 years, up to and including 2020. Ripple Labs was also asked to make enhancements to the Ripple protocol to monitor future transactions. Then U.S. Attorney Melinda Haig, commenting on the settlement, said that she hoped it set an industry standard in the digital currency space. Hollins goes on to share part of the introduction and background from the FinCEN ruling he believes is the most critical point. Though not an expert on U.S. law and relatively unknown in the Twitter sphere, Holland is an entrepreneur and the creator of an open-source XRP wallet. He says, they have already bound the U.S. federal government into a position where XRP is a currency according to the agreed facts of the settlement. Something can't be both a currency and a security. Subject matter jurisdiction of the agency doesn't affect its ability to bind the whole government. Not everyone in the cryptocurrency community agrees that FinCEN has set the bar for XRP, but the argument is certainly fueling the debate, and no one can deny that precedent is an important factor in law and regulation. Now, even more exciting, Ripple taking regulation further and beyond anyone else in the entire cryptocurrency community. Next headline, Ripple expands global regulatory team in DC and joins the Blockchain Association. Not unlike the internet's historic impact, blockchain and digital asset technologies have the power to engender greater financial inclusion and economic growth. To realize the full potential of these technologies, though, industry leaders must come together to educate policymakers on the global impact. With this in mind, we are thrilled to announce that Ripple has expanded our global regulatory team and is the first major blockchain company with a dedicated GR office in Washington, D.C. In addition, Craig Phillips, former counselor to the Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department, has joined Ripple's board of directors and will provide depth to Ripple's policy leadership bench. Finally, to help advance trust of directors and will provide, finally, to help advance trust and innovation in blockchain and digital asset technologies, we are now a member of the Blockchain Association, and Michelle Bond, Ripple's global head of government relations, will sit on the board. In the U.S. and abroad, it's important for policymakers to be armed with industry knowledge to help them shape conditions that will enable technological innovation to thrive. At Ripple, we look forward to continued conversation with policymakers and are building a team that brings a wealth of legislative and policy experience. In his new capacity as a Ripple Board of Directors member, Craig Phillips will provide counsel to Ripple's leadership team and advise on strategic regulatory opportunities as Ripple expands its global network. Most recently, he oversaw regulatory framework development for the financial system under Executive Order 13772, as well as efforts to enhance the financial sector's cybersecurity through the Office of Critical Infrastructure Protection and Compliance Policy, led by Michelle Bond, who has served as the global head of policy at Blockchain and head of global regulatory affairs and public policy at Bloomberg, as well as senior counsel at both the Securities and Exchange Commission and the U.S. Senate Banking Committee. The expanded global regulatory team will be vital advocates and voices as we continue to engage with policymakers worldwide. We have expanded our global regulatory bench to include Susan Friedman as International Policy Counsel and Ron Hammond as Manager of Government Relations. Prior to Ripple, Friedman was the senior advisor to CFTC Chairman Heath Tarbert in his previous capacity as Treasury's Assistant Secretary for International Markets. In this role, she regularly advised and collaborated with Treasury officials on matters including the International Financial Services Regulation, investment, security, and trade. In addition, Hammond joins Ripple, having previously served as a legislative assistant to Representative Warren Davidson, where he brought policymakers from both sides of the aisle together to revitalize the Token Taxonomy Act, a policy that initiated the conversation around the need for regulatory clarity. Yet we understand that change doesn't happen alone. We are excited to be included as members of the Blockchain Association, an association playing a key role in shaping our shared digital future. The Blockchain Association provides a unified voice committed to building deep partnerships between technology leaders and policymakers. The members involved with the association advocate for advanced trust, transparency, safety, and innovation of blockchain and digital asset technology. The goal is to share knowledge, identify opportunities, and co-create a more transparent future in partnership with policymakers. All countries, governments, and businesses rise together with regulatory clarity. To support the ecosystem together, it's important for continued efforts like the Blockchain Association and the collaborative discussions being held today in D.C. and abroad. Let's come together and realize the global impact of these technologies. Excuse me. And here we have the Executive Order 13772 by Stephen Mnuchin, Secretary, and who else but Craig S. Phillips, the Counselor to the Secretary. Craig Phillips today joins the Ripple Board of Directors. San Francisco Business Wire, Ripple, a provider of leading enterprise blockchain solutions for global payments, today announced Craig Phillips has been appointed to its board of directors. Craig will provide counsel to Ripple's leadership team and advise on strategic regulatory opportunities as Ripple expands its global network. Craig's appointment to the board further affirms our commitment to working with policymakers, bringing experience, developing regulatory frameworks, enhancing cybersecurity, and overseeing innovation and risk management in the financial system, said Brad Garlinghouse, the Ripple CEO. This is an exciting time for Ripple as the blockchain industry at large faces increased attention from regulatory bodies around the world. And we couldn't be more thrilled with Craig's decision to help further our vision. Craig brings more than 35 years of industry expertise to Ripple, having held leadership roles at Morgan Stanley and BlackRock. Most recently, Craig served as counselor to Secretary of the Treasury Steven Mnuchin, where he oversaw regulatory framework development for the financial system under Executive Order 13772, as well as efforts to enhance the financial sector's cybersecurity through the Office of Critical Infrastructure, Protection and Compliance Policy. He also supported the development of policy for housing finance reform. I am pleased to join the Ripple board at this critical juncture in the company's history as it uses blockchain technology to improve the speed, reliability, and cost of cross-border payments between financial institutions, said Craig Phillips. Participating alongside the distinguished group of current directors, senior advisors, and the Ripple management team is a unique opportunity that allows me to leverage my interest in this important technology and innovation. I brought all these articles together to show that we are moving forward from the IMF to the ECB and many of the central banks around the planet. Amongst this, you have many of the digital assets and cryptocurrencies, some with use case, some without. But the point is they're all looking for regulation. They're all searching out all across the globe, all across the world in different countries. Everyone is begging and asking for regulation so that they can continue to grow and progress and move forward. But amongst the most regulated from the beginning, we have Ripple. Not only did they go above and beyond from its inception, even today they have taken a greater step and moved a location into Washington, D.C. And who else did they bring in? None other than Craig S. Phillips, who helped write the Executive Order 13772. A financial system that creates economic opportunities, non-bank financials, fintech, and innovation. We know we have Swell coming up, and we know there's some exciting news awaiting as they have invited the XRP community content providers to appear at the Singapore 2019 Swell event. So we know there's something big, and I believe many people are hoping regulations will be clear before, or if not released, during this convention. I wanted to bring a lot of this up. Feel free to check the description and research this further if you would like. If you do go through the non-bank financials, you're going to find Ripple on page 194. And again, this is just a share of how the world is about to change into something amazing, exciting, and fast and instantaneous. But they need financial regulations first. I believe they're coming soon, and I believe many people's lives are going to be changed for the better. And these are exciting times, and we will see what is to come over the next few weeks. This is not financial advice. It is for entertainment purposes only, and I hope you guys are having a great one. I'll catch you in the next one.